Dusty was beginning to lose hope. The sun beat down on his weathered face as he walked through the abandoned town. All around him were signs of life. The wind rustling through the long grass, birds taking flight at his approach, and the distant cry of a lonely coyote. But there wasn't a single soul in sight. It had been like this for over a decade now. He crested a small hill and stared out at the valley. In the distance, he could see the majestic Rocky Mountains, their snow-capped peaks glistening in the afternoon sun. A hawk circled lazily overhead, its keen eyes scanning the ground for prey. As the wind whipped through the tall grass, it carried with it the scent of sagebrush and the faint sound of a distant stream. Despite the beauty that surrounded him, Dusty couldn't help but feel a sense of isolation. He was the only one left in this forgotten corner of the world, or so he thought. Years ago, this place had been a thriving community. Dusty remembered the laughter of children echoing through the streets, the smell of freshly baked bread from the general store, and the friendly banter of neighbors exchanging goods at the market. But then the rains came, relentless and unending. The river overflowed its banks, washing away homes and dreams alike. People fled, leaving behind the town and their lives. And when the sun finally returned, it revealed a ghost town. For a moment, he stood there lost in thought, the weight of the years pressing down on him. The silence was deafening, broken only by the wind and his own footsteps. Suddenly, he heard a twig snap in the distance. He turned to see a lone figure emerging from the trees. Hope surged through him. Could it be? Was he not alone after all? The figure approached cautiously, their face hidden by the shadow of a wide-brimmed hat. As they drew closer, Dusty could make out the stranger's features, a rugged man with a determined set to his jaw and eyes that glinted with an adventurous spirit. The stranger stopped a few paces away, his gaze sweeping over the deserted streets. A wry smile tugged at the corners of his lips. "Well, ain't this a sight?" he drawled, his voice echoing in the stillness. "A ghost town. Thought I was too late to find one of them." Dusty, unable to contain his surprise, blurted out, "You're not the first to say that." The stranger turned, his eyes widening in disbelief. "You said it first," he exclaimed, gesturing to himself. "I was just thinking out loud." He paused, sizing up Dusty with a keen eye. "Been here long?" "Long enough," Dusty replied, his voice tinged with a hint of sadness. "To remember when this place was alive with folks and filled with hope?" The stranger nodded understandingly. "Change is the only constant," he said, his voice low. "Folks come and go, dreams fade, and new ones take their place. It's the circle of life." His gaze fell on the dilapidated buildings around them, and he sighed. "Seems like it has been a mighty long time since that circle brought life to these parts." "Over 10 years," Dusty said quietly, his eyes fixed on the dusty street. "More than a decade since the floods chased everyone away." The stranger looked back at the mountains, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Seems like a hard way to live," he finally said. "All that open space and not a soul in sight?" He turned back to Dusty, a glimmer of amusement in his eyes. "Said, you mind if I ask a question?" "Shoot," said Dusty. "How come you stayed?" The stranger's question caught Dusty off guard. He hesitated, searching for the right words. "It's my home," he said simply. "And besides, where else would I go?" The stranger seemed satisfied with that answer and fell silent, his gaze drifting to the mountains in the distance. After a while, Dusty cleared his throat. "So what brings you to this neck of the woods?" he asked, trying to change the subject. The stranger turned, a playful smile spreading across his face. "Same reason most folks head into the wild," he said. "Venture, excitement, the thrill of the unknown." He paused, his smile fading slightly, and maybe a little bit of loneliness. Dusty nodded understandingly. "Loneliness can drive a man to some wild places," he said, his voice heavy with unspoken emotions. The stranger studied Dusty for a moment, and clapped him on the shoulder. "Well, no need for 2 lone wolves to roam this earth," he said, his voice booming with enthusiasm. "Seems to me we could use some company around here." Dusty managed a weak smile. The stranger's words had struck a chord within him, but he wasn't so sure about throwing his solitary existence into chaos. They walked side by side along the dusty road, their shadows stretching out before them in the waning light. The silence between them was comfortable, punctuated only by the crunch of gravel under their boots. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky blazed with hues of orange and purple. Dusty pointed to a building ahead. That's the old schoolhouse, he said softly. Used to be a lively place. Kids running around, teachers shaping young minds. He sighed. Seems like a lifetime ago. The stranger stopped and turned to Dusty, his gaze intense. You know, he said, this town may be a ghost town, but it doesn't have to stay that way. He gestured towards the mountains. There's plenty of room here for the two of us, maybe even more. He smiled, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Imagine that! Dusty? A whole town to ourselves, just like our own private kingdom. Dusty felt a flicker of excitement at the stranger's enthusiasm, but it was quickly tempered by practicality. We'd need supplies, he said, his voice laced with skepticism. Food, water, tools, and where would we get those? The stranger's grin widened. That's the beauty of it, he said, his voice brimming with excitement. We start from scratch. We build this town anew, make it a place where folks can thrive once again. He looked at Dusty, his eyes shining with conviction. What'd he say, Dusty? You in? The sun had dipped below the mountain peaks, leaving the sky inky black, dotted with a million stars. The two men stood on the porch of the old schoolhouse, gazing up at the heavens. Dusty felt a sense of wonder wash over him. The stranger's words had planted a seed of hope in his heart, a tiny flame flickering in the darkness. I never thought I'd ask this, the stranger began, his voice unusually serious. But, would you mind sharing that there house with me? I mean, we can figure out the whole rebuilding thing later. Right now, a roof over my head and a fire in the hearth sounds mighty fine. Dusty met his gaze, a slow smile spreading across his face. Stranger, he said, extending a hand, welcome to town. Looks like you're going to be needing a shovel. Come morning, let's start digging. As the night wore on, the two men talked, their voices carrying on the wind. They shared stories of their past, dreams for the future, and the quiet desperation of living a life without hope. By the time the moon was high in the sky, they had become friends. And as they finally went inside to bed, there was a sense of camaraderie that had been absent from the town for years. In the days that followed, the town began to stir with activity. The stranger, whose name they learned was Caleb, proved to be a man of his word. He helped repair the schoolhouse, turning it into a cozy home for the two of them. Meanwhile, Dusty found himself energized by Caleb's infectious enthusiasm. Together, they explored the possibilities of their newfound community, discussing everything from planting crops to building a schoolhouse. Their laughter echoed through the empty streets, chasing away the ghosts of the past. Word spread quickly through the nearby settlements of a new homesteading opportunity. Soon, a steady stream of wagons began arriving, each carrying new settlers, eager to carve out a piece of the land for themselves. With each arrival, the town grew a little more vibrant, a little more hopeful. The rhythm of life returned. Fields were plowed, houses were built, and children's laughter once again filled the air. As the years passed, the town flourished. It became a beacon of hope in a rugged land, drawing in settlers who dreamed of owning their own piece of the American frontier. The unlikely duo of Dusty and Caleb had created something special, a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. And as the sun set over the town each evening, casting long shadows across the fields, they knew they had created something that would last long after they were gone.